Lenin a black gemara Chedesh Menachem Od. We are up to Daf Chov Gimel Amud Aleph by the two dots. So the Mishnah said we're continuing to talk about the theme of Pesha Asa Pesha Hitter, where she incriminated herself, but she then explained herself. For example, the woman came along and said, "I'm an Ish, but I was divorced." So Pesha Asa Pesha Hitter. However, there were Adim that she was an Ish. She no longer then has a Migui, and she says that she is divorced, then she is not believed. And then the same thing is, if a woman came along and said, "I was kidnapped, taken captive, but nothing happened, the guy didn't have anything to do with me, didn't molest me," so then she can marry a kohen, because Pesha Asa, Pesha Hitter. Then the Mishnah concludes, but if after she got married, witnesses came along, she can remain. But we're not sure which case are we talking about here. We're talking about the case where she said, "I was a married woman, but I was divorced," and we believed her, and she got remarried, and then Ada came along and said that she was a married woman, so she lost the bigger, and we say, "Oh, what doesn't matter, let her stay married." Is that what we're talking about? Or we're talking about the other case where she said, "I was taken captive, but they never molested me, and or they never abused me," and then she was married to a kohen, and then Ada came along and said she was taken captive, and we say, "No, now that she's married, even though she no longer has a migui, let her remain married." Which case are we talking about? Or it makes no difference. Says the Gemara, and right in the middle of the page, about 3 lines above the white line. She remains married. Rabbi says, talking about the first case, even when the woman says, "I was married, but I am divorced," and then she got remarried. At the moment, we're thinking she got remarried. And Adam came along and said that, she was a married woman, she no longer has a mikvah, she can remain married. That's what Rabbi says. Rabbi said, no, it's limited to the case of the Sefer where we're talking about a woman who claimed that she was taken captive, but that her captors never took advantage of her, and therefore she's able to marry a kohen. Now, the one who said that is talking about even in the case where she said I was a married woman, and then when she got married, and so on and so forth, Kosh cannot Sefer, surely. Then on the Sefer, surely in the Sefer, which is a B'Shvui Kilu, when a woman is taken captive, we don't know 100% that they took advantage of her. We're just making an assumption. So surely in that case, if she said, "I was taken captive, but nothing happened," and then she got married to a kohen, and Adi come along and said that she was taken captive, we're not going to unravel that marriage, because it's much more lenient. The man the master Sefer, the one who says it's limited to the Sefer, because over there we're lenient. We don't know for sure anything happened. So now that she got married and she had a miga, even though she no longer has a pesha, it let her stay married. But in the first case, where if we already now find out that she's a married woman, so she lost her pesha asad, she has to step out of the marriage. She cannot remain married. What's the argument? Maybe they're arguing the principle of Rav Hamnuna, which we already had in Imams as well. What's the principle of Rav Hamnuna? Rav Hamnuna said that a woman does not have the chutzpah to look her husband in the face, in the eyes, and say to her, we just had it yesterday, that he said that what? She doesn't have the chutzpah to lie to her husband. The one who says, to say that she's a married woman and then I got divorced, is a chutzpah. And at this stage, we say that even if it's not in front of a husband, it's still a chutzpah. So man de masla reisha isla de hold like a manuna. Or man de masla sefer, but the one that says no. In the case of HSD, she now got married, and Aiden come along and eliminate her pesha asa by saying that she's a married woman. She has to get out of the marriage. Less than they don't believe that she has credibility because she wouldn't have a chutzpah. That's what the Gemara thinks. The Gemara, everyone agrees. Everyone holds like a manuna. If a woman comes along and says, "I was divorced," you believe her. This is machlekes. When do we say we believe her? Only if the husband is present, or say but not if the husband is present. She has a chutzpah. Therefore, now that we took away her mikvah, and what do you want to say? We should believe her that she was divorced because a woman has a chutzpah, but her husband is not present. Therefore, she has to step out of the marriage. And the other one says that shalei b'fanav also she doesn't have a chutzpah. Basically, the meaning of what? That we believe her that she was divorced. In other words, like this. We're saying here that there's definitely that Rav Hamnuna says is din only in front of the husband, not if the husband is not present. However, even if the husband is not present, it helps us that if she already got married based on a migui, or on pesha asa, she got married, and now witnesses come, will say, "What? She has enough of a chazaka to let her remain married." This Halacha is like Rav Nuna. This din of Rav Nuna that a woman is willing to say that my husband divorced me if she's standing and looking in the face, according to most poskim, she doesn't even need another divorce. She can now, she's a free woman, she can collect her ksuva. Machlek is whether she collects also the additional part of the ksuva, but she collects her ksuva because the ksuva is tagged to the divorce, and we believe it. And what do you call it? So this is a way, and other poskim say that no. Other poskim, the Goinim say, they hold, Miri brings it down as well, they hold that she's believed insofar that she's no longer married to this person. She's not considered a meredis if she walks out on him, but she's not yet free. If she wants to marry somebody else, she still needs to go ahead and get and receive a get. But basically here we see a way for a woman to get out of a marriage is by coming along and saying that you have the husband divorced her. And based on that, there's another halacha that says if she comes along and says that my husband used to force me to have relations with him while I was a nida, and again, she has to say in front of the husband, and the woman wouldn't have a chutz to say that the husband's present, we're going to believe her. And therefore, she will force the husband to give her a get. Anyway, Gemara continues. The emission sabayit, after she got married, witnesses came along. What exactly does it mean? Which case are we talking about? And also, we just said which case we're talking about. What do you mean emission does it mean once she actually got married? Then we say let her remain married. What are the bezin paskins you're permitted to get married, but she hasn't yet taken action? She hasn't yet got married yet. Do we rescind our psak? No. What does mission sas mean? The father Shmuel said, she actually got married. Once Bezdin gave her issued a sentence that issued a psak that she can go ahead and get married, and after that, Adi come along and said, "Hey, but she's a married woman." After Pishon is like, "No, she can get married. She can what? She can still go ahead and get married because adding to the fact that we paskin and Bezdin doesn't like to rescind the psak, especially we're going to have a whole Gemara in Bab Masa Chesed Batim. If it's a Zelusa the Beidin, Bezdin passes one way, and then tomorrow they have to retract their psak, rescind this psak. So therefore, and also she has that chazaka that supports her. The Eidim, all they know is that she was once married. They don't know if she's divorced now or not. So there has a chazaka, even though it's a weaker chazaka, the husband not present, and the fact that we already give up psak, we're going to leave it the way it is. Says the Gemara it says that you shouldn't go out of the marriage. Sounds like she was married already, not just a psak. It means, let's say, timid editions. You don't have to overturn the original psak that we gave. She said, basically, I was kidnapped, but I am tired. The Yeshli Edim Shetoherin, and then she goes further. She said, I want you to know, I have witnesses that know that the Goyim never ever took advantage of me. And I mean, we don't say namting, wait, Achivoy Edim. We don't say, okay, let's wait. Some of those witnesses. We permit her to get married straight away. We permit her to get married straight away again because we don't know for a fact that anything really did happen, so we trust her. Because again, she's the one who said it's a pesha. She said I was taken captive, and now she says she's tired. But what happened? They permitted her to get married. Came along these days and said, "Well, we know she was in captive. We don't know 100% whether anything happened or not. It doesn't matter how they say it. Once we pass him that she can go out, we don't overturn our psak. So it's clearly talking about a psak." Then he said, "But
can I ask you, how can they say lo yildanu? Yesterday we had the same thing that." Adam said loyroino. Don't we have a klal of loyroino and iraya? What's the story behind this Adis?
Good question. Gemara asked that yesterday. Loyroino and iraya. The Gemara says you're right. Generally speaking, your hums are right. But when we are next door neighbors, generally we're all gossipers, and there's something big news. Everyone knows about it. So therefore, we would have thought. We're
assuming that people are going to be nosy and be busy with everyone else's business.
We're assuming when it comes to a get, which was within a small neighborhood, they would know for two reasons. First of all, the woman herself has an interest in telling the world so that she can get remarried. Otherwise, everyone thinks she's a married woman. Nobody's going to propose to her? Nobody's going to come forward to her. So she wants people to know that she's divorced, and therefore it's not even so much gossip. But then the Gemara says that no, that it doesn't matter. Even in such a case. You're right. But they're saying here, we know that because we make an assumption that any woman that's taken captive, that the captors are not so innocent. For they took her captive, they're also going to take advantage of her. So it's only because of that migui that we believe her. Once the Aiden come along and say that she was taken captive, we remove that migui. But over here, once the Bezin gave up psak, we're going to say the psak remains. But the imbo Aiden tuma, if Aiden come along and say we know for a fact that the goyim did take advantage of her, then I feel Yeshla Kama Banim, even if she's married with a number of kids, takes it. Because then the fact is that she's not allowed to live with a kohen. So now the Gemara tells an interesting story. Sad and interesting story. We had this a number of times of Shas. How careful you have to be with what you say with your mouth. Hanish was, so they were these captives, they came to an Adoi, Oisiv Avu and Shmuel, and what happened was they take girls captive, like this happened last week in Brazil with a Frumiyid who was kidnapped, and then the family had to ransom him and release him, and he was released the next day. And this happened very often in those days, unfortunately. So the father of Shmuel came. What happened was these girls were taken captive, and then the captives came to sell them. The father Shmuel came to Tudi Badaya, and he put up guards there while they were in the doi to make sure that the captives don't take advantage of her. Now, what actually the Mefarshim said, what actually happened here was that they didn't see the captives; they just saw the captives standing there in the corner of the town. So they didn't know that they were taken captive. So at this stage, if these girls would have said, "We're taken captive, but we are innocent," then they would have been believed. So fine, and that's what happened. But Shmuel's father also wanted to make sure that nothing happened in the future. So he put there some guards. Shmuel said to his father, what helps the guards for the future? What about the past? In other words, he didn't believe in this migui or whatever it is, because the captives right outside. He didn't believe that it's good enough. This is called a migui. Because he thought that these girls, were scared that the captives come at any minute. So they jumped ahead and, and Rabbi said this, knowing that in 2 minutes from now, we'll all know that they've been taken captive. So he didn't like this ruse. So Shmuel's father got angry, and he said to his son, if it would have been your daughters, I would be so machmir and say, no, I'm not going to trust them. No, it's a famous argument, but he said it. The words came out by mistake from his mouth, and soon enough, sure enough, the daughters of Shmuel were taken captive. We had this with, if I remember just recently, Yavamas Abaye and Papa. When Abaye said to Papa, you have parents who take care of you, therefore you're spoon fed, therefore that's why you have your head is settled. You could come up with all these wonderful ideas. And I was a Yosem, I didn't have such a settled life. And then very soon after, both of Papa's parents passed away. Even though he didn't mean to say that, but just the words are powerful. Words are very powerful, like we learned in this week's Parsha, the power of words. Anyway, Baskin Lar Yisrael. So what happened was Shmuel's daughters were taken to Yisrael to be sold. From Babel, they were taken to Yisrael. His girls were very smart. So the girl said to the captors, you want to get a good price, you stay back over there, let people look at us and they get to know us, and then you come in and you try to sell us to make a lot more money. They went into this base of measure of Chanin. We're going to learn the end of Kesuvos, the end of some Sechta, about Reb Chanina, his role in Yisrael at that time. Because when Rabbi Yudasi passed away, he divided his thing. And this girl said, I was taken captive, but I'm tired. Peshasa. Nobody saw the captives because they were inside the shul. And so Rabbi Chanina Paskin, like there's a Mishnah here, she's tired. So then the captives came in a few minutes later to try to make sales. These girls must be the daughters of a very smart teacher, and they must have learned at home, and therefore they were clever, and they worked their way around this, circumvent the problem. Realized it was not Shmuel's own daughters. We know that one of the daughters married, Barisik, because one of the captors then became a ger and married her. Puk, who was a kohen, and said, marry a cousin, so that we can prove to the world that she is believed because of this migli, and therefore she can even marry a kohen. And he said to Rechanina, but aren't there witnesses overseas? And Tesha explains, isn't there a rumor that there are witnesses overseas, so she doesn't really have a migli? So Rechanina ruled, come on. Are there Eidim here right now? No. Eidim mitzad Asa mitzad Asa, because the Eidim in the north somewhere, and therefore you want to Asa, you can't live your life that way. So now the Gemara learns from Rechanina. The only reason why we said, go ahead and get married, the lost Eidim, they haven't come yet. It seems clear to me, but the Eidim would have been present. He would have agreed with Shem Rabba. Said, you're right, you couldn't marry your cousin because the Eidim are here, they have no migui. But Rechanina was a bezdin, and he passed in the way that they're mutter. Who cares if the Eidim are here now? What he was talking about was not that I know there were Eidim that she was taken captive. That doesn't matter. Once you pass you pass. I heard there were witnesses who actually know that they did take advantage of them. And Ravashi and therefore Klina says it doesn't matter. Just because there's a rumor that they're witnesses, we're not going to stop. We're not going to return the halacha, being married, and I want you to marry one of them. And that's what happened. Next mission. Two women that were taken captive. They say, this woman said, this woman said, I was taken captive, but I'm tired. They say, this woman said, and his next woman says, I was taken captive, but I am tired. Ein and them money did not believe. But it was man shehein me'idazuzu. In other words, if two women come along and taken captive, and we know that they were taken captive, this mission is talking about there were 18 that were taken captive, so they no longer have a migli, and each one claims, "But I'm tired," not believed, because we assume you cannot testify by yourself. We assume that they were taken advantage of. If each woman testifies regarding the other woman, in this case, had money they believe because they have nothing to gain. They have nothing to gain. The next mission will talk about kohenim, where they talk about themselves and other person being a kohen. We might not trust them according to some because maybe they're rewarding each other. Maybe there's something to be gained. Here, doesn't be gained. So if one woman says the other woman is tired, we can believe. So the Gemara, I am tummy. I am. There's 4 cases there, so you have to help up. Case number 1: a woman says, "I am tummy, but my friend, my colleague here, she is tired." The din is Ne'emena. She's believed in everything. She's believed that she is tummy, and she's believed that her friend is tired. She's an 8 echad for a friend, and she's believed that their friend is tired. Next case, whether they were Eidim here or not, we'll soon see. Case number 2. Ani tired, the other way around. I'm the one who's tired, but I'm coming to pass on my friend. She's not believed in either one. She's not believed that she's tired. Now, why won't she believe that she's tired? She hasn't been good. So we're going to conclude this talking about Abaye. I was talking about there were Eidim here that she was taken captive. She no longer has a migui. So regarding yourself, we don't believe you. But regarding your friend, even though you're an 8 echad, she's believed about her friend because by shvuya hikilu. When taken for captives, we are lenient. Case number 3. Ani v'chavrosi. She said we're both tummy. She said before she said one is tummy and actually we were both tummy. Then menes alas believed on herself, but she's not believed al chavta. An 8 echad cannot disqualify the other person. Okay, so she's not believed regarding her friend, even though she's believed regarding herself. Case number 4. Ani v'chavrosi. We're both tired. Then menes al chavta, and she's believed about her friend as an 8 echad. But the Ein and Menes Alatza, she's not believed about herself because she no longer has that Pesha Asa because there were Eidim that they were taken captive. Says the Gemara, let's analyze the Brais. I need to I am tired. And my friend is Tameh. She's not believed for either one. Now, why is she for she's tired? It must be there were Eidim there that they were taken captive. Either like Eidim no witness at all. Why can't she be believed? Nish Beisi, I need some Migui. It must be the Ika Edim, must be the witnesses that they were taken captive. She no longer has a migui. She's not believed about herself, but she is believed about her friend because an 8 echad by Yeshvuya, we believe. Okay, so let's look at the next case. Ani, the next, this is what do you call? Ani v'chaverti tmeya. This is case number 3 actually. Say the middle case. Ani v'chaverti tmeya. This is case number 3. I and my friend are both tummy. Ne'emenes al atzma. She's believed on herself that she's tummy, yes. But the ein al chavta, you have no right to disqualify your friend. Now, the idi ke'edim. But if there were witnesses that they were taken captive, why does she believe on her friend? Why does she believe on her friend? It must be talking about there's no witnesses there. That's why if there's no witness at all, that's why she cannot tell her friend say, "Oh, my friend is tummy." We don't believe you. Ema Sefer, look at the last case. I am my friend at Torah. The man is a chav. She believes about her friend because she's an eidach and so on. But the ein is latma. If there's no witnesses, she's believed about her friend that she's tired, but she's not believed regarding herself. Now, if there's no witness here, why she believe about herself? She has a bigui. Comes up very modern. The very first and last case. In the case where we say we don't believe her when she says I am tired, can only be explained when there were Eidim there, therefore she has no Pesha Asa Pesha, therefore we cannot believe that you're tired. But Mitziyusa, the middle case, is talking about the Leka Eidim. When she said that my friend is Tameh, and we don't believe her regarding a friend, is because there are no Eidim. So what's going on here? Are there anyone? No, because there were Eidim, he should be believed regarding a friend. Otherwise, the Baya in. Reisha v'seif again. What's the big deal? The first, they're not all talking about the same case. The first, beginning of the Bryce and the end of the Bryce is talking about the war witnesses. That's why she's not believed regarding herself. And she also the lekate. In the middle, talking about there's no witnesses, and therefore she's believed saying her friend is Torah. Come along, Papa says, and come along, Papa says no. Kula dika edim. Papa says v'ika edecha. Two things. There were two witnesses that came along and said these women were taken captive. That's number one. Then there's an eid echad that comes along and says, and they were taken advantage of. Only an eid echad. So an eid echad taken advantage of is only believed when it comes to be an eid echad only to be matir, not when it comes to aser. So this is how it works. Papa said, there were witnesses that they were taken captive, and there is a single aid, whatever she says, the aid echad says exactly the opposite. Now let's go case by case. Case number one, she said, I need tame, I'm tame, and we know that they were taken captive. She said, I'm tame. Comes along the aid echad says, no, you're not. Nothing ever happened. So we still believe she's tame. Why? Because we had a concept in Daf test, which is shavia anafshe chaticha the sort of. She says, I'm tame. That's it. If she decides to treat herself as if she's awesome, then she's awesome. But then she says, my friend is Torah, and the Eid Echad says that your friend is Tameh. We're going to believe her. Because an Eid Echad is believed only to make her mutter, not to make her asr. So she will be believed that her friend is Torah. That's case number one. She decided to consider herself asr. So we don't believe they believe her. And her friend, even though the Eid Echad says, I know that the captors took advantage of her, but if she says, I know that they did not take advantage of her, we're going to believe her. Because an Eid Echad is believed only to make things easier, lighter, and not harder. Okay, that's case number one. What's case number two? Anita Haida, I'm Torah. Again, remember, there's no Migui anywhere here because there were Edim that were taken captive. She claims, I am Torah, and the Chavirasi Tameh, and my friend is Tameh. And we say we don't believe her for anything. Now, why not? Come along, exactly the opposite. You are Tameh. What are you talking about? You're Tameh. And of course, we're not going to believe her. She has no Migui. There's an Eidech that says she's Tameh. Don't talk about it. The Chavirasi, but this that you claim that your friend is Tameh, you should know your friend is Torah. Regarding herself, kivanika edim, since we have an eid echad that says, since we have edim that they were taken captive, no migui lav kol kamina, she's not believed. But your friend will be Torah, even though you claim that she's tamei, but you're an eid echad. Since there's an eid echad that says she's Torah, it comes to shavuya where he kilu, we're going to believe in eid echad. Mishtaya puma de eid. Okay, then it continues. Ani v'chaveros etzmei. I and my friend are tamei. I, my friend, Tameh, come along, Eidechet says, at the Chavet Torah. She said we're both Tameh, and the Eidechet says you're both Tameh. So the thing is that what we believe we're on both counts. What do you mean? Ihi Shavis and Nafshadi. So regarding yourself, even though the Eidechet says that you're Torah, you decided to make yourself Tameh, you have that right. So you treat yourself like a Chatich Yisura of something that's awesome. Fine. Chavet Mishtaya. Why is your friend Mutter? The Eidechet says Tameh again. When it comes to Shavuya, an Eid Echad is believed only to make her Tahar, not to make her Tummy. Sorry, the same thing over here. You come along and say you're both Tummy, but the Eid said that she's Tahar. Again, a single Eid, we believe her. Okay, says the Gemara. So that's case number 3. Says the Gemara, Hasulamli. So what are you teaching us in case number 3 that we didn't already know? We already know both things. We know that she can answer herself, even though the Eid says you're Tahar, because Shavi Nafshe Chaticha Disura. And we also know that even though you say your friend is Tommy, the 8 says it's Torah, a single 8 makes a Torah. So Hasulamali, what are you adding in this case here? We did number 4. Hi Nuresha. Both of these didn't we already know from the nation. I give Chaticha de Surah, right? And we know that from the case number 2 when you said you're Tommy, and the 8 says you're Torah. We don't believe they would follow you because Shavin Chaticha de Surah. And the same thing is regarding your friend. That you want to I would have thought, no, I would have taught in case number 3 when you say we're both Tameh, I would have thought reverse psychology. I would have thought really you're both tired. I would have thought maybe you're both tired. But you hate this other woman. So why are you saying we're both Tameh? Thinking that by saying you're both Tameh, you have more credibility because you're also incriminating yourself. Because you want to harm her. And we have the saying we had also in Gemara Yibam is Hachi Tamus Nafshi, why we don't believe those 5 women about Yibam, because Thomas Navshi and Plishtim. Shimshon Agibah said, I don't care if I die, as long as Plishtim died. Same thing over here. I want to make sure that she doesn't get remarried, doesn't get married again. So therefore, or married. So I am going to say that we're both Tameh, even though I'm hurting myself as well. But I also want to hurt her. So maybe just like we don't believe her regarding, just like we don't really believe her regarding herself. It's only because Shabbat. So, but because we really think she's tired. So the same thing should be. Let's say that the friend is tired. Especially you have an Eid Echad that says that the friend is tired. Yeah. So maybe. So maybe even she is really tired, and there's no real shavi nafsh there. She doesn't really want to make herself awesome. She just wants to hurt a friend. So maybe we should say they're both tired, and we have an eid echad for the friend that she's tired. So obviously we know that she's tired. So let's say that the whole thing is concocted, and that she also is tired. It's not a real shavi nafsh. The of the K'mar Shalom comes to teach you. No, the fact is she said that she's tamei shavi and nafsh chatichin. Even in the case we don't really think that she means it, it doesn't matter. You said it. That's what it happens. Last case, Ani v'chaver zeh we're both tired, and comes along and Eid Echad says, no, you're not, you're both tamei. So when it comes to her, since she has no migui she's not believed. So in fact, she's not believed at all. In fact, it's not even because the Eid Echad is saying that she's tamei. She herself is not believed to say, even if we know Eid Echad, we wouldn't believe her that she is tired because she has no migui, no pesha aser. But a friend will be tired, even though the Eid Echad will believe. Says why? Because an Eid Echad is believed to be made. Again, we know that concept already from the other cases. Why repeat it here? I know the very first case. The very first case was that I am tummy, my friend is tired, and the Eid Echad says your friend is tummy. We believe you because an Eid Echad is believed only to make her tired. So why do you have to repeat case number 4? What we already know from case number 1? Saying, well, no. I would have thought, I would have thought, you know why we believe her in case number 1? She said, I am tummy, my friend is tired. That gives it some credibility, the fact that she's not trying to take advantage or anything else. On the contrary, she's saying that I was taking advantage of it. I am tummy, but my friend definitely is innocent and tired. So maybe that's why we believe her. But over here, when she says, we're both tired, maybe she's lying about her friend as well, but she's saying that in order to give credibility to herself, to try to paint a picture that she is tired. Maybe in this case we don't believe her. Maybe it's just some kind of ruse. No, we separate the two testimonies. What she says about herself is totally unrelated to what she says about her friend. And regarding her friend, we believe her. Regarding herself, we don't. Mishnah. So we're continuing to talk about this case, similar, but now we're talking about a case of Shtei 2 people, 2 men. This guy says, I am a kohen. I'm entitled to all the activities of a kohen. The other one says, I am a kohen. They are not believed. They're not believed about themselves to say that they're a kohen, and that therefore we can start giving them truma or everything else to do with a kohen. No, we can't. But as man each one of the kohenim are saying, giving testimony about the other kohen, had the in their money. Then they are believed. According to the Tanakama, they're believed. We don't suspect that they're lying in order to they made some kind of a pact between them. I'll say that you're kohen, you say that I'm a kohen, and we're all happy. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, we are not going to rely on kuna based on Eid Echad. Madach, we don't believe when it comes because of Yuchsin, whatever it is. We're not going to believe in Eid Echad. Surely in a case over here where we can be suspicious that maybe there's some kind of a deal going on between the two, surely we're not going to believe them about each other. Ahmed Abu Lazar says, when do we say that that we don't believe in Eid Echad only b'makom sheyesh oidin? Are people wagging their tongues and accusing this kohen of not being a proper kohen, maybe a chol and so on? Then we need 2 eidim. But there's nobody making any allegations. Then we will trust a kohen based on Eid Echad. That's in general circumstances. But you're right. In this case over here, we were suspicious that maybe there's some kind of a pact between the two. Then they agree. So far we have sort of 2.5 opinions. So we have the Tanakama that says that if they testify about each other, we believe them. We have Rabbi Yehuda, an Eid Echad is sufficient. Rabbi Yehuda says an Eid Echad is never sufficient, especially in a case where we can be suspicious. And then we have Rabbi Lazar who makes sort of compromise. Generally, an Eid Echad is believed, but not in the case where we are suspicious, like in the case over here, or in the case where there are allegations. Then we need to wait. Comes along Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Shimon Hasgan. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says the name of Shimon ben Hasgan. In other words, a kohen who's a kohen gadol. His father was Hasgan kohen gadol. That we do appoint a kohen based and state a kohen based on a single Eid. Now, what exactly is Rav Shimon? Who's the argument? We'll talk about later. Says the Gemara, we have all of these mishnahs, one after another, teach you the concept of Pesha Asa, starting at the beginning of this Pedic. What do we need so many mishnahs to teach you the principle? Even if Abishur is believing Migui, but he believes if I say this field belonged to your father, but I bought it, Pesha Asa, Peshitit. What do we need? Every mishnah so far is Pesha Asa. What's going on here? Saying about Kolhani, all of these mishnahs, what do I need it for? Teach you this principle. We do need them. Why? Let's go through quickly. The Etan, if we only knew the first mishnah where Maidid Abishur came along and said that if I say this field belonged to your father, but I bought it from him, you know why over there he's believed? Because the moment he said the field belonged to your father, he's harming himself, the value of the field. So obviously he wouldn't have said it unless he knew it wouldn't cost him a penny. Why? Because he bought it. So there it's clear that he's saying the truth. Otherwise, why would you even mention it? The Ikadra and the Minor, there he has a personal loss. So obviously when he said the field was yours, he already knew he was going to say, but I bought it. So that's why over there we believe him, perhaps. I will aid you. Two would come along and say, this is our handwriting. But you should know that we were coerced and therefore the loan never took place. Maybe they cause themselves no harm. Makes no difference to them whether the loan took place or not. Nothing to do with them. It's between the Malv and the labor, the lender and the borrower. I will age them over there. Maybe we can say first they told us that it's a valid star, and then the following day they decide, you know what, we're going to say that we were coerced. In other words, maybe it's a trumped up story that they thought about after the event. Not like the first case. Definitely, when the moment they said that the field is your father, they already knew they were going to say, "But I bought it." So therefore, we believe them. In this case, maybe we don't believe them. Maybe they came up with it afterwards. I will aid them. They don't suffer any personal loss. Maybe we don't believe them. We don't believe them when they say that we were on Nusin. Maybe we don't believe them. Maybe initially they intended to say that's a valid start. Afterwards, they changed their mind. Aim of Eton, Adim. If you only knew this, the mission of Adim, Mishum de la Alma. They gain nothing from this whole thing. It's affecting the whole world. And therefore, there's no way. Why would they come the next day? If they said it's a valid star and we'll go home, go to sleep, finished. What do they care what happens out there? Why did they come afterwards and say, but we were coerced? Since they have no benefit from it, must be that they're saying the truth. On the other hand, the Alma, therefore, must be that they ask, I can argue the other way around. Because they have no gain or loss from this. So why even bother coming? Must be it's the truth. I will eat in the case of the field. Maybe the reason why they came up is that we bought it because it's affecting them, so they change their mind. They say, "What am I doing?" And people maybe cannot trust them. That's why we need both missions. These two cases, the next page, because these are matters to do with money, which are a bit easier. I will used to go as far to say that that she says I was married but I was divorced. To trust her regarding a married woman, she doesn't need another divorce. The Surah, maybe we don't trust him. And the next case in the mission is we're taken captive, but we're tied. And now she can marry a Kohen Lamali. What do we need that for? If you're telling me that an ancient Issues believe that she can go ahead and marry anybody she wants, then surely for a Kohen, which is only allowed, it's not easier of skill and so on and so forth, surely it should be easier. So Gemara said, that's how some of the Shem learn. Other Shem, Ravain Tam says, by the case of Shvuya also could be a case of Misa. Because if she marries a Kohen, the kid really is a Cholol, and the kid then works in the base of Migdash, she's Chay Misa. And therefore it's also, but the difference is that we don't know for sure that an Aveda happened over here by Shvuya. We have no idea. And therefore it's easier than the case of Eshet Ish. If we believe her by Eshet Ish, then surely we believe her by Shvuya. What do we need to case of Shvuya for? So he says here, he wants to tell you the next part. But if after she got married, witness came along and said, yes, you were taken captive, how takes it? She can remain married. That makes sense according to what we learned earlier today, that this din is only limited to the case of taken captive, that once you get married or once Bezin Paskin you get married, believe the way it is, because it's not 100% sure anything happened. But in the case of an Eish Taka, even if she got married, she has to get out of the marriage. Okay, so therefore that's the chiddush of the end of the Mishnah to teach you this din about Shvuya that's limited only to taken captive. The one who said that this din also applies to an Eish Ish, that once the Bezin says she can get married, even if Eini come later and says she's a married woman, she can go ahead and marry anybody she wants. So now you can remember, why does the Mishnah come along and tells us the story of Nishbasi? Because you're right. Because we want to lead into the next Mishnah. We want to tell you the next Mishnah about two women that were taken captive and they talk about themselves, about each other. So therefore we had to lead into that. That's why the previous Mishnah tells us first about establishes Pesha also if we didn't know that she was taken captive and she's the one who introduced us to that. And then she tells us that she was tired, we believe her. The next Mishnah says, if we knew that they were captive, and then so on and so forth. And each one talks about the other person or about herself. that's to lead it. So what do you need that Mishnah for? I would in the case of the two women, if one woman says the other one is Torah, and each one says about the other one is Torah, and the din is we believe them, I would have thought maybe we shouldn't believe them. Maybe they made up this. You said each one said, you know what? Let's not talk about ourselves. I'll say that you're Torah, you say that I'm Torah, so we can both marry Kohanim. Kamashla, we're not suspicious. In this case of the two women, we're not suspicious at all. Again, why? Because we're not sure that anything really happened. So each one testifies regarding the other person, will believe them. So what's the chiddush then of the mission we just learned today about two men? We already introduced that. Because here in this mission already we have an argument. Here we're suspicious. There's some kind of a pact going on between them, some kind of a scheme, and therefore we had to introduce the different opinions on the Kamar of Yehuda and Abulazar. Continue tomorrow night at 7:00, and.